As we continue our lap of the track at the Claremont Speedway, we're standing about halfway between the two big iconic light towers here at Claremont Speedway, right in Fowl House Corner. Track probably moved behind us here, closer to that area, named after the chooks in the Fowl House that used to be here at the show times. Pedro, another couple of big crashes that we remember.
Well, I used to sit on Fowl House for a while. I sat in a lot of different places around, which you could hear. But yeah, a couple come to mind. Young Scott May from Geraldton in his sprint car. He hit the fence in Fowl House and the car just exploded in pieces. It was one of the biggest crashes I can remember.
There's a Peter French photo and the car looks like it's just been like squashed and pulled long ways. It's quite horrific, and I don't like telling other people's stories too much, but I have heard a few times, and sorry if I'm wrong, but that the doctor actually saved his life that night because he actually grabbed hold of a pen, took the middle part out of it and stabbed it through his neck to make sure he could breathe properly, and survived that actual incident. So
pretty horrific stuff.
Yeah.
A couple of others, I was here in the early 80s, it probably was, when Kim Ledger was racing. It was an early heat race, it was still daylight. And he came together with another couple of cars and flipped over, and next thing, out bounced this helmet on the track.
Yeah, wow.
And everybody around us said, I hope his head's not in that. And it wasn't.
Yeah, obviously not joking because, that's pretty serious stuff, isn't it?
Yeah.
Sam Malenko is another one. Came down the main straight in the Series 500 that David Tapp put on this. That was a fantastic series, International Riders. I remember him tangling here and hitting the fence that hard, his head bounced off, he just spun around like a rag doll and end up being okay. And some huge accidents. These guys were gladiators, no matter whether you were on 2 wheels or 4 or 3. It was just an amazing time.
I can remember Gavin coming in too pretty hard into the fence down the end of the straight and lost. I don't know whether he had came together with someone, but he hit the wall real bad and broke the car up.
The man to beat at Claremont was national and defending WA champ Gary Brazier from New South Wales. And with 7 laps to go, the locals were doing that. He was well back in the field and not likely to share in the limelight. That was until Gavin Migro was shunted out of shape. Brazier had nowhere to go. It was Migro who was worse for wear. He was taken to hospital and later found out he had a broken wrist, broken arm and fractured a bone in his back. His season is over. For Gary Brazier, he was lucky to walk away with minor head injuries, though his car was a write-off.
There's so many.
Yeah.
I mean, we haven't been following it 73 years.
No.
But the years we have been following, there's just so many memories that just come back, as you say, from standing here. It's, great. Really good.
One lap of Claremont to go, ladies and gentlemen. Come on, Claremont! Ron Krikke! Krikke does it! Great stuff! Ron Krikke! Gavin Migro, what a drive to third! Mark 21. That's the last ever. Come on, Claremont! Up on your feet! Ron Krikke takes it out! Yeah!
With us now, it's a pleasurable experience to introduce 2 times national champion Ron Krikke with us. He's a 3 times WA Sprint Car champion, 5 times runner-up, a 7 times Speed Week winner, 4 times a Sprint Car Gold Cup winner, a 4-time champion of champions winner, a dual World Series Sprint Car champions winner, winner of the King of Wings, winner of the final Sprint Car race ever at the end of the era of Claremont Speedway. He's a 3rd on the all-time Sprint Car feature race winners list with 45 wins, and was inducted into the Claremont Hall of Fame at 2000. With me is Pedro. Ronnie, when I say that to you, what do you think?
There's a fair bit of stuff in there I didn't even know, to be honest. Actually, Pedro and I were talking about before we went on camera. And said, the 5 times you're runner-up. I said, I can't even remember being a runner-up. Couldn't remember any of them, but it's a very impressive list, I suppose, or list of achievements. I've never ever looked back on it and never sort of looked at it like that. There's a lot of things that do stand out. Well, I thought I'd actually won Speedway 6 times, not 7, and I thought I'd actually only won two state titles. Three. So.
Yeah, it's something I would just forget as
You can
well.
add a few more to there if you want, but no, very, very good. It's, to hear that, and yeah, look, it's way more than I ever expected in the sport that I chose, and to come out with that, so on the other end of it, yeah, tremendous. So great.
Ron, I wanted to get into how you got into Speedway at the beginning. Like, I have a photo at home in a Forestfield program of you running at Forestfield in a sprint car stampede with a few of the big guns from Claremont, and that would have been 1981.
That's exactly right.
So that's the year you actually jumped in a sprint car. You didn't do anything else in Speedway beforehand?
Just 2 demo derbies I was in. That was it. Never sat in a race car before. Helped when I was an apprentice panel beater in my early years there. Robbie Harding, it was a sedan car race there, helped him build an EH. And that was really all I had to do with Speedway. And then, but I was always a spectator, loved it for a kid.
Yeah.
Used to go to Blinks Raceway in Bunbury. Then obviously the Bunbury Speedway, Collie Speedway.
Yeah.
Claremont was virtually too far away for us back then. So I think the first time I actually went to Speedway, Claremont was when we raced.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, so that was all new to me. But how it all formed was Brother Peter. John Fenton was tied up with Bunbury then, promoting. And Bob Trossel would bring the travelling team out each year, bring 3 American cars, or his own cars, and 3 drivers. So Fenno sort of put the sales hat on and talked to my brother Peter and said, "What do you buy one of these?" And Peter had a bit of racing background as well, so he bought one, and because he knew that I loved him and that sort of thing. So he just got us there, and he said, "Brian, you're going to drive it. John, you're the mechanic." So we got this car. He said, "You don't have to win it. Just go and win a couple of B grade races. And who cares? Doesn't matter that much."
Wow.
And we went to Bibra Lake the first. Cause, well, actually, Fenno used to get the Bunbury track prepared, so we could actually go and do some laps out there, which did help. Because the first time I ever jumped in a car, I thought, what the hell have I said and done here? You know, with the way they shake and everything. When the push car first pushes it, when it evens out and start, it was all not too bad. And but then it that turned into I've done some respectable laps around Bunbury, and we went to Bibra Lake, and I spun out there more times than I went around the track, and everyone sort of didn't want to race with me. Yeah. So that turned into a few more laps in Bunbury. Then we went to Forestfield. Yeah. And that was a fun day. And our next race after that, I think we'd done a couple of...
I think Narrogin and Albany were in there as well.
Yeah, we were running Narrogin, and then we start first couple of races in Claremont, and through Martin Lawton, we got invited to go to Albany. Yeah. And there was Kevin Strange, there was Martin Lawton, Paul DeLacy, Lee Foster, myself. There was 6 of us by memory. I can't remember the other guy, or a couple of other guys. Anyway, might have been was Brian Beckingham, something like that. Yeah. Anyway, we went won the time trial, won the points, and won the feature. Wow. First time out on a double diamond. Wow. And not many people would even know what a double diamond is. It was a tyre back in the day. They used to race back in the late whenevers, you know. Yeah. No, I was 60s, 70s, but we were bored with the car. It would have been like an old thing lying around a shed, but we used that double diamond and we won on it. So that was pretty impressive, and we had a big night out after that. And that was good. So we come back, and then we were had to race B grade in Bunbury at Perth. Yeah. And then we got invited into the A section on a few nights, and then we just kept going from there.
I was looking through programs last night to see how far back I could go to see when you first started. And in October 1982, you were in the Sprint Car Encourage, in event F, in the program.
It doesn't sound right, does it?
Ron Krikke 99, Bunbury Toyota Sprint Car Encourage. So that was 1982. Would have been the second, I think it was the second season of the night of the season in 82.
Yeah, that'd be right. So, which was a B grade section, basically. So which is, I didn't think there was anything bad about having an A and a B section. The good thing about it, there was enough cars to be able to do that.
And I looked a bit further along, and it didn't take you long to be up in the feature and playing with the big kids.
Exactly, we got invited into
Yeah,
the A grade division.
yeah,
And we had to run A and B on the night there a couple of times
yeah,
in Bunbury and Perth, or Claremont I should say.
yeah.
And then after that we went straight to the A division and stayed there, which was a great effort for our, which we knew
Absolutely.
nothing. We knew absolutely nothing.
Yeah,
Didn't know how to pull a car apart or anything. So when we painted it, we just have to mark everything and lay it on the ground, paint the thing, and then put it back together. It was
humble beginnings.
humble beginnings. It's quite incredible.
Because when you think about Krikke Motorsport now, that was Bunbury Toyota, it's gone into that.
Yes.
People think it's big time, there's a lot of going on, it's Hollywood, and it is. But back then you had nothing really. You had just a shed with a couple of bits, one motor kind of thing.
That's all we had was motor was in the car. That's so. We never had a spare motor. If that blew up, well, then we'd have to get it fixed. So.
Yeah,
But we just had a trailer, and then we had to have a tow vehicle. So we'd grab a car at the car yard. So, and we'd have to look after it, of course. So we never had like any structure of a truck or a transport or anything. So it was just a trailer, hot rod trailer sort of thing, with the front toolboxes on it. It used to be Terry Hudson's.
yeah,
Because he raced good cars, so we bought that, and that was our trailer for many years. And then that went to, then they started to get with transporters after that, but I'd left by then. Because when we'd won the national title in that in the coil car for Bunbury Toyota, the business wasn't strong enough then to put a car on the road, because it was time for probably to go out and extend the career into other states and do things like that. You had to go and back the title up, and that was in Warrnambool. So, which we did, but then when we come back, Peter said, look, we can't afford to continue doing this. We're okay here, but not. He said, if someone comes along, it might be worth grabbing. Which effectively was probably a good way to sack me, I suppose. But that worked into then Jeff Kendrick and Jeff Murphy joined forces and said, asked for me to go with those guys. And they wanted to come down and inspect what we had. And when we put the roller door up, they were looking around and saying,
Where's your stuff?
where's the stuff?
yeah.
And so that's it there. So
Wow.
they couldn't believe that we'd won a national title
Yeah.
with what we had. And the funny thing on the national title, we'd never been to a national title before.
You hadn't been as a spectator?
Nothing.
That was the
been.
first one,
That was
five.
the first national title I've been to. So to go there as a spectator or a racer or whatever, but it was great to go along, and all of a sudden we won something. We didn't realise what we'd won.
I was going to say, did you go in with any expectation? Like, obviously you'd been getting better and better. It was a year later or 2 seasons later than when you started. Did you feel like you had a shot at...
There was a story to it, to be honest. Yeah, we did.
Yeah?
Yeah, we did. But we bought the Rocky Hodges car, the coil car, because we watched that car with anticipation. And Brett Lacey had a coil car, and Max Dunsey had run a coil car over in the US. So we watched that car, and that car was very good. And that's the car that's on display at the Motorplex now. Or it's at Wadman Park, is where it actually lives nowadays. But that was way ahead of its time, that car. Because our engine program was only like a steel block engine with aluminium heads on it, and we with all the other likes of Alf, Alf Barbagallo, Bill Sutherland, and Noel Bradford, Ray Jeanette with all these aluminium motors, and they had plenty of money tied up in these things. Ours was just an old 916 stroker, and that was all it was. So it was running out of horsepower halfway through the turns, and then get going again once you got going through the turn. But the car was great, so we started winning races straight away with that car. But then we had a pretty bad crash the week prior, the National Sprint Car title. Anyway, so I said, I reckon we've got time to fix it. So and we're all working, see, because we never had a crew chief or anything like that. So John was running the spare parts division, I was selling cars, Peter running the business, and the other guys were on our team. They were, they had wives and work, etc. So they, we had to do it after work.
Wow.
So that's, couldn't do it during the day.
Yeah.
So then we fixed the car and we took it out to Bunbury to do a few laps just to make sure the car was right. Just rolled the car over in Perth, got involved in an accident, rolled over, so it had to have new wing and all sorts of stuff. So we ran around Bunbury, and Doug McPherson come down. He was our engine builder, and blew it up. We blew the engine up. So I said, oh, what? Withdraw our nomination.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
This ain't going to happen now, because we didn't think we were going to make it after the crash. And now we actually were going to make it, but now another fatality of the engine done, you know, and broke a crank, and it was wrecked. So I said, look, let's not even bother, let's just go watch. You know, we paid our nomination, we got tickets, we'll just go watch and a couple of beers and let someone win and just smile.
Imagine if he had done that, our history would have been different.
Yeah, well,
We'll be glad he didn't.
No, well anyway, Doug said, I'll take it back to Perth and build a motor. I said, well, we've got no gear. He said, I'll bum a crank somewhere. And he said, I've been having to muck around with these Valiant conrods. We'll use them. I said, I don't know.
Chuck it in.
Just use what do you
right.
reckon? They were stronger than Corellos, I reckon. And Corello were like a racing conrod. Anyway, so we went along and we were high points because I think all the points were on the first night, from memory.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got crashed up a bit. We had to go fix the wing up the next day at Murphy's. But yeah, we're high points, and then we come out of one in the final, of course, and I'm not sure if I had Gary alongside me. I don't think I did. No, so it was.
I thought you might have been on the second row.
Bob Kelly alongside me, or it was George Tatnall, I think. It was George Tatnall.
Yeah.
Because I remember Joe said to Buzzy, because Buzzy was working on the car back there and was with us.
That's right.
And he says, you've got a big oil leak under the car. And I'll tell you, it was probably a good little story in this whole thing was right outside, because it had the cars on the track and they interview everybody, you know, which that was a thing that Con was very good at, you know.
Yeah.
And his promotion on that side of, you know, so the public knew who the drivers were, and, you know, with vision back then was obviously not as good as it is nowadays. At least the people still knew who they were, you know.
Yeah.
So I got in the car, anyway, let's go. So the push truck's pushing me, and I'm looking at the oil gauge and waiting. Went right the way through Fairhouse, down the back straight. I thought, oh my God. Qualified out of one, now the thing won't go. So I'll stop. I forgot to put it in gear.
Was that just the whole, like, nerves or anything?
Well,
or was that
obviously,
just
you know.
part of the show? It's like,
No, it wasn't part of the show.
No, it's as in, like, the pressure of it all and part
yeah.
of the whole experience is like, I've
Yeah.
actually just forgot to put it in gear.
I did, because there was a slide in between your legs back in those days. That's push it across, then slide and click it in. So I went, oh, okay. So I put it in gear, but let's go. We'll put it away we started. But then, you know, to race, to get going, I knew the car would be good enough early to get away from the other guys. It was so good off the line, and was, you know, because it was so I believe the car was better than the other cars in the field.
Yeah.
Anyway, I got going, and then Rushy come up alongside me, and I thought, well, you ain't going to get this for nothing. So I thought, I'll give him a little bit of this, you know. So he went, oh my God. So he come at me again, so I give him another one.
Later on.
We giggle about it now.
Yeah.
As the drivers now move out of turn number 4, Trini Australia's best sprint car, away and racing in the first turn. You find Ron Krikke from Western Australia's taken the lead in the most fantastic start ever seen here. Down the back straight they go. Ron Krikke leading. Second place man is George Tatnall. He's washed wide on the fence. Gary Rush is through in the second place now, and the great chase is on. It's down on the end of the main straight. Ron Krikke from WA leads. Gary Rush in second place. Then back to Matt Stubbs lead. George Tatnall's gone wild. But now an enormous speed. The two fastest men from the time trials last week. Out of turn number 4 moves young Ron Krikke. Down the main straight. Ron Krikke on the outside. Gary Rush takes the lead. Oh, brilliant driving. He's won it 6 times before. As they move out of turn number 2 and down the main straight. Acceleration is the order of the day. As two great drivers are locked together. Gary Rush on the outside. Out of turn number 4. They lock wheels that time. Down the main straight. And Ron Krikke bites back. Well, the Western Australian stars driving hard.
Anyway, then he waited a few more laps and just passed me. Just zoom.
Gary Rush from Sydney fighting extremely hard alongside him. Thus the smelly appear on the track as they move down the next straight once again. Gary Rush takes the lead in the 1985 Australian Sprint Car Championship.
And I thought, oh, well, you know, if we run second, we run second. You know, I thought, well, good enough I've always thought we're a good enough car to be in the top bunch. But with Gary being so good and so dominant in those areas, you know, that Winfield,
Yeah.
in the Winfield Gambler, and they had a great team. You know, they were a really good car, good team, good people, and great racer. I mean, like, you know, gee. Anyway, Phil Myers blew his engine, and Gary got a piece of the engine.
Scattered it over the pit's bend, didn't he? And,
Yeah, he must have thrown a bit for me underneath Gary's tyre.
Well, I tell you what, they've got a saying if they have wings, they fly. Mind you, these cars have got wings, and they are flying. Gary Rush, 7 laps away. 7 laps, Phil Myers blows up and punches up towards the safety bend. But there's the caution light. What an unbelievable spectacle as Phil Myers blows the motor. And
Because I was following him.
yeah.
And I could see the tyre going down, and I knew there was 6 laps to go because I used to have the board on the side of the track back then.
Yeah.
And I looked, and I think it was second. Max, I think, was third at the time behind me. So I think he ran second to me. And I thought we'll be right here. And anyway, I look at Gary, and I see the tyre getting flatter on the right rear. So I went, wow. So I pulled up alongside, and I went,
You're pretty cheeky,
get a flat tyre, mate, get off the track. he wants no part of it. He's looking straight forward.
Keep going.
right-hand rear tyre is flat, and this is unbelievable. Somewhere along the line, someone will have to make a decision, and the stewards have the caution lights on. The crowd are ecstatic, they're going wild, and we're only 6 laps from the finish. There's the flat tyre, a flat tyre away from the richest race in Australia.
So I thought, you know what, I'm better off letting him go at the start a bit, just in case he spins and crashes. I don't want to get tied up in a crash.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that was a smart idea because we haven't got going. He just went zoom, gone. I
Yeah.
thought, I've given him 20 or 30 metres and he's taken another 50 or 60 with it. So I thought, oh my God. Anyway, then a couple of laps later, the tyre blew spun out and that's the end of it. So, yeah, that's all history after that.
They start to move up. Gary Rush has the championship in his grasp in the racing. Rush is still leading us a bit. Ron Krikke in second place. Well, if he wins this, he'll go to the Guinness Book of Records. This will be unbelievable. His tyre's gone down, throws the car sideways. A spellbound crowd with 5 laps left to go. Gary Rush leads him down the main straight. Ron Krikke in second place for Western Australia. There goes the tyre, and there goes Gary Rush's championship as he hits the safety fence. What a vicious blow to the New South Welshman, and the caution that lights do come on.
Lindsay McStumpy, George Castle, followed by and there it is! One lap to go, one lap! Oh, Ron Krikke, come on, Western Australia, down the back straightaway, lead her, up lap, as he runs forward now in the turn number 3. Come on, ladies and gentlemen, Ron Krikke has done it! Lee Foster takes second, third place, McStumpy, fourth to number 5. George Castle, Bill Sutherland with the crackers go on. Okay, as he goes round, ladies and gentlemen, come on! Let's hear it for the man that has done it so well. 2 hectic nights of sprint car racing here at the National Capital of Speed, and Ron Krikke has done it. Come on through Foulhouse Corner as he does his victory lap. The Bunbury Bullet has put on a mind-blowing performance to lead home this star-studded field.
Big race that was, and brilliant calling, Chuck. Oh, gee, that was absolutely top stuff. The crowd up in the pits, the fellow competitors and the mechanics and all the pit crews.
Yeah, look,
That's an amazing story.
yeah, it was
cool.
crazy.
Yeah.
So really, we were second best there, but luckily on the night it went well for us. But,
yeah.
you know, to put the car on pole was well for our team.
Yeah.
You know, you still had to race.
Yeah.
So we didn't jag the pole position through our heats. So we were fast. I think we set a new track record over that weekend as well. And then to come out with the win was wow. And that was the start. Like that's where Bunbury Toyota Racing, I suppose, you know, with the Krikke Motorsport, that's where it bloomed into now we were like, you know, it weren't just statewide, we then become a national figure.
Yeah.
And for Bob Trossel to send us the congratulations and to be acknowledged throughout Australia then, that, because, and Gary said a couple of special things to me. Like he said, you impressed me this week, and this was in Bunbury the next night.
Wow. He
said, mate, young fella, he said, you really impressed me. He said, you've been good all weekend. He said, you're going to go places. And it was very, very special.
Pretty cool.
And we've got a great friendship, Gary and I, and for him, to the words he spoke about me, at different times as well, was tremendous. And to race against him, a tremendous race car driver.
I think he had an eye on you before you were even famous. Because I remember hearing an interview, he was being interviewed before the national title, and they said to him, who do you think are your biggest challenges? And he said, there's a guy out of WA called Ron Krikke. He's pretty good.
Yeah.
He still calls me Krikke.
Yeah, I've heard him say that. Krikke.
Yeah, so look, and another thing that Gary said about to me, this was way later in my career, was when I was running the quick car, because Con would bring Gary on his own. That's all he needed, is just Gary Rush, and then the people would come, so against all of us guys. So, the crowd would be there. So, obviously with Gary's, tow money, etc., with a good crowd, you could pay him to come because he was a crowd pleaser and a very, very big draw card. And we raced a 2-lap thing or whatever it was, and we both interviewed on the back of a John Day ute. And Gary said on the microphone, which was a very special thing, I'll never forget. He said, I come to Perth to race Ron.
Yeah, that's cool.
Not anyone else, just to race me.
We're going to take a quick break. Thanks to the sponsors. We've got about 1 million questions we could ask Ron Krikke right now. We've only probably got half an hour. We're here back with Ron Krikke and Pedro, the cartoon superstar from Claremont Speedway. And Ronnie, we'll just quickly go to your second national title. You were much more prepared, as far as I'm concerned. You probably went to the gym more focused with Team Kendrick. Total different experience to the first time?
Yes, yeah. We were organised well. I had a bit of a bumpy ride with the race straights in 1992, and just through a few things that happened, and it sort of things didn't go well. So I said, no, I'm sort of not really that bothered with racing anymore. So I sort of walked away from it at the end of the season. Anyway, then during that season, off season, obviously with the national title coming in 1993, I thought, well, I've still got unfinished business here with, I want to win that race and actually win it. And we done a deal with Jeff Kendrick and with a quick car, and the team was 3 cars, which was Jeff Lees, Callum McCarthy, myself, and then I thought, right, I'm going to put my head down and get stuck into this. I'm not going to travel. I'm not going over east, no nothing, and got a good gambler car, and went there with high expectations that we knew we were fast. We'd won a few good races prior to the title, so we were well set up in our team. Like Sean Curran, the crew chief, and then all the other guys we had on our team. That they worked very, very hard. We knew our business. We knew what the car was, and we knew what the track was. The conditions, what they were going to be like, and all the rest of it. And we went there and we were 3rd high points. And Gary Brazier was high points, and Leesky was 2nd high, which was a massive thing for our team. That was his first national sprint car title he'd ever attended. So, for a young I mean, a very, very accomplished racer in his own right and everything, but to go to a national event and put it on the front row is a very, very big effort. So Jeff said, "What are you going to do here?" I said, "Well, I don't know. I'll need a 3." And that race hadn't been won prior to for 12 years any further back than the front row.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So I said, I've got to get one early because I knew Brazier had a 20 on and we had a 40. That's a compound of your right rear tyre.
So he had a softer tyre.
They had a lot softer. Yeah. So I thought he's going to get going early because you won't catch him because of the heat build up, etc. You know. But I thought he'll come back to me with the last 10 because it was 30 laps in Perth at Claremont. So then I said, look, I reckon I know Leesky takes a push every now and then. You know, that means the car understeers. I'm going to have to just nail him there and they'll have to get there, heading me of the road early because I won't be able to race these 2 guys late, you know. Because you'll use too much car, tyres up, etc. to be able to race him. So had Leesky done it, they took a push, which was good. And I just put the car.
We could listen to the psychological part before,
Yeah, well,
sorry.
Well, that's how it was.
Yeah.
And that's why I said to Jeff that I'm going to have to get him early. I said I'll be right on the back bumper of Brazier. I said go into turn 1, and if in 1 and 2 or 3 and 4 he'll take a push, I'll have to be right there and get him. Don't have to hit him, don't have to crash him. There's no touching. Yeah. And he did that, so I thought, well, now I said to Jeff, well, I'll just have to wait then because Brazier will get going, and I'll have to probably start trying to catch him from about lap 15, 17 onwards, and then have to deal with him in lap traffic or something like that. If that's going to happen, that in a perfect world, you know. Mm-hmm. I thought we'll be stronger later, but he carries very, very car speed as well. So his ground speed in that car was great. So got by Leesky, and then I was catching Brazier 7 laps. I passed him. Yeah, just went straight past him. His car was too tight, so therefore it was set up for the later in the race as well. So he was trying to get some fuel out of the car, but the car was moving around a lot. It was behind a few lap cars, and the gap was there, so I just went through and just sat there for the rest of the race basically and just drove the car. It was actually not a major effort in driving that particular race, you know, because we'd hit the front, lap traffic fell our way, there was a couple of crashes, so therefore, you know, the track would open up again, you know, then you'd have to catch the lap traffic again. I think there was a crash or something with about 4 to go, so therefore you just had to sit there and just 2 foot off the curb sort of thing. It wasn't going to go around the outside.
Keep your ground,
so just stay there and get the checkered flag. So that was, to accomplish that event was major, major. And the team, I mean, I think Leesky run 4th, I think, and Mac was finished as well. So, but also with the 3-car team, when Speedway was on that year, our first night in Perth, we went 1st, 2nd, and 3rd.
Yes,
wow, in the quid team. So that was pretty tremendous. So that was, those sorts of things were just massive.
Over your career, did you have a favourite car? Like you used a lot of different, you know, chassis and different. But did you have a favourite car that you thought, this baby, I'm just going to sit in here tonight and it'll just do everything I tell you, or were they all?
That 93 Gambler.
Yeah.
That car and my son's car that I drove, the Maxim that they built. Yeah. That car.
Okay.
With Giles on the spanners, that car was good. Giles and I were a very good team together. So it was Jeff Kendrick himself and Sean. But I knew that Maxim was tough. That was good. Wow. You could race that car hard, but also the Gambler, the quick Gambler, that was tremendous as well.
Now, some people might not know, but you know, Ron also raced a speed car at the indoor event. Do you want to talk a little bit about that, Ron?
Not much to talk about.
Which was at the Birdswood Dome, and Con put a big thing on. So
that was a pretty special event actually. We went there because it was Paul Jordan had a couple of speed cars, so he got one for me and Gavin, or Gavin and I should say, and they were Volkswagen, Volksy powered and no power steering, which was a bit of you had to get used to the front end of the car again because the sprint car we had power steering in it, so it made it, you could be more precise in your track craft, I suppose you'd call it. So the first night I got going, and I was actually not going bad.
And Ron is normally used to be seen, there isn't car number 35, he's normally used to be seen in action behind the wheel of a sprint car. So he's probably looking for that wing over his head. Probably is. There's Ron Krikke, car number 35.
I sort of looked, I think it was Stephen Graham from New South Wales, was running around. I thought, I reckon I could get past him. I got over the tyre and up the wall and landed upside down. So I thought, that didn't work. So
Just to see the car in front of him stop, that's Stephen Graham, and up on the fence he goes, crunch, and upside down in spectacular fashion, and he ends up being quite okay.
fixed the car the next day, so I think I was at the B main or something like that the next night. And it had a funny brake set up in it because a big long rod from where your foot was went right back near the diff area on the thing. So it's about, I don't know, nearly a metre long, this rod. And if you push the brake too hard, you'd bend the rod, so therefore you run out of brakes.
Right.
Yeah, so I'm pumping the brake, I'm thinking, oh no, I've got no power steer, I've got no brakes now as well. Because you need both, you know.
Yeah. Especially that tight little track, one very good.
Exactly, so you can ride the brake nice, because brake, with these, I'm not sure if the viewers know, but most Speedway cars like the open wheel division have only a brake on the left hand front. So therefore as you squeeze it's going to slow that left hand wheel down, which helps you turn in the corner. So I had no brake and I had no power steering. So anyway, then I got sort of up around the outside of another car and done exactly the same thing. So my career at the Dome, they called it at the time, was not great. I spectated more than I raced there. You know?
Were you also saying that you ran one at Claremont?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, that was the night, state title night for us in Perth in the sprint cars, and it was a big speed car night. And Keith Giles was in the quit team as well back in those days. So his car was painted up exactly like ours in the sprint cars. And he asked if I wanted to run it in his car. I said, yeah, let's do it. With the licensing, etc., and I hadn't raced a speed car at Claremont, and with the official, you had to race 3 races before you can actually be in the event or whatever it was, you know. Otherwise you got to start off the back, that's fair. So I said, oh, let's go. So I paid the money and jumped on the back of the thing. I had a 25 and run third. So yeah, it was pretty interesting.
Yeah,
it was enjoyable too, you know.
Yeah,
but yeah, so that was good.
Pedro?
Couple of incidents I'd like to remind you about, Ron.
Here we go.
I knew this was going
This is really why we got you here.
Yeah.
No Brownlow medals for this.
I think it was the 15th of February 1991. It was a heat race, a sprint car heat race, and you happened to come together with another driver on Pitts Bend.
Oh, right.
And you took a dive and you went straight through the in-gate, picked the gap between the in-gate, finished up going over, taking out a light pole, landing upside down on Bert's car or trailer.
Car, that's it, yeah.
I'd love to know what you were thinking.
That was
oh shit.
Yeah, that was pretty hectic. Got up over right rear wheel, trying to run around the outside of another competitor.
Sharon?
I think it was, yeah, Sharon Merritt. And then the car end-for-ended and went through those wires, which snipped the wings off. Because they used to have not the only catch fence. Above that, they had like the big cables that were across, you know, which were to throw the car, any car, back on the track. But as the car would come through the wires, it went through right level, which snipped the wings off. So then I landed. I was upside down. So the lights were out because I knew I'd hit the pole. I knew I didn't actually hit a pole, but I knew the lights were out, and I could hear voices everywhere. And I thought, oh no, I'm in the crowd here. Shit, I hope there's no one really badly hurt or anything like that, you know. So I thought, wow. Anyway, then I realised I was actually in the pits. Yeah. And I think someone said that there was Wellesley's girlfriend.
Yes.
Broke a collarbone.
Yeah, Karen McGuinness.
I think it was. Yeah, she got a broken collarbone out of it.
Yeah. She went to hospital overnight.
Yeah.
Not serious, but
I spoke or something like that. Yeah.
I spoke to her a few months back when do a little story for a book, and she said she still had, she had tyre marks on her arm for years and years.
Wow.
They've worn a little bit now, but she still got permanent memories of that night.
Yeah, that's right.
And she was taking video.
Family, you know that.
Yeah.
Nice people.
Yeah, she was taking video on the fence.
Right.
Didn't see it happening. She was looking through the video, and
Yeah, right.
her dad knocked her to the ground, and the car came over,
Yeah.
and she got sort of hit on the way through.
Caught underneath it,
But yeah, that was an incredible night. I didn't go because they said don't go over the pits, and I didn't go over there for about an hour later, and people were still pale and in shock.
Sure.
You know, it was.
Yeah, that was pretty.
What about Bert? Because Bert used to get fired up to get annoyed that he landed on his car.
Yeah, Bert was real happy with it. He said he had a brand new tyre on his car, and he said, "You owe me a brand new tyre." I said, "No." I said, "Got to go and see Com. He'll give you. He'll square you up with that one." But, we actually raced the car again that night because it broke the rear torsion bars off and a few other bits. You know, knocked the steering box out. So put a couple of wings back on, put new bars on the back, and clamped the steering box back in, and raced it again that night. But I think that was a state title, or it was a big race. I'm sure that was a state title night.
Okay.
And we raced because we carried the points, I think, into another night, and we raced that race another night. So yeah.
There was a golden era, there was a golden era in Claremont. For those who hadn't been to Claremont or from around Australia and around the world really, that used to look at the grandstand and have people's banners and have Go Wellesley, Murphy's awesome, Go Ronnie. Those are the three. Those people were, championed on so many people. You did not do your reputation much good when you had a trophy incident one night, but some people loved it because it was, Ronnie's, way, but it wasn't too good for you either.
No, that didn't go down too well. But I still reckon I was right.
Tell me if you can tell
I've got
us
to
a story.
defend myself here. What happened was the night I run the speed car. It was exactly that night. So it was a state title. Yeah, must have been another time. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I'd won the race and then run in the speed car. So they were doing the trophy presentations for speed cars and sprint cars after the speed car race. So I got up on the dais there and was thinking, right, the sponsors, because I had quit sponsorship, and then there was Castrol and there was all the other sponsorship that was tied up with us, because you've got to try to remember them all, because if you miss one, then Jeff would cop it on Monday. How come Ron wins the race? He didn't say, okay. Anyway, so I'm thinking, okay, anyway, that's the night. Then Con says, and second place goes to Ron Krikke. I went,
What?
I said, what's going on? And there was somebody said, they put you back. They
relegate you for some incident.
They relegated you, but we'll talk about it later. I said, no, we won't. I said, this is bullshit. I said, this is bullshit. I said, you can't do that. I said, just typical with all these arseholes around here. And I said a fair bit more, and then I said, you can stick it where it fits. So I went smashed in his face. It's gone boom. Anyway, just in a bit of rage, I suppose you'd say, and then
Passion.
That's good. Then got back on the motorbike to ride back to the pits, and the crowd went nuts. Wow! And there was lots of choice words coming on. I can tell you, wasn't many people cheering. So Jeff says, "Don't know if that was the right move there, mate." I went, probably wasn't, but anyway, it's done now. What can I do?
Yeah.
And so Colin, he ordered me up to his office for after. I said, I'm going up there. So I didn't go. And then it made the inside page on the West Australian and the Melbourne inside page as well. So it was news because we were a national sponsored vehicle. So that didn't help matters through Healthway.
Yeah.
So then on the Saturday morning, or Saturday after, I think it was, Jeff rang me. He says, mate, we've got to be in Addie Carroll's office 9 o'clock Monday morning. She was the manager of Healthway at the time. I said, I'm going. He said, you have to. I said, no, I'm not going. He said, you have to go. He said, this is our sponsor. I said, you can go. I said, you got a sponsor. I said, I'm not going. I said, I don't like her anyway. So I'm not going. And that was it. I didn't go.
Yeah.
So I just thought, no, I stood up for myself. I thought, because it was funny, all the time in my whole career, I always said that I'd race for myself first and my sponsor second. And I felt very strongly about what happened, and still do today. That was wrong what they did.
Yeah.
They put me back. It goes down the record books as I rode second in that event. They offered the trophy back to me at the end of the year.
Was it made up or was it still a beef?
I never got that. I said no.
Yeah.
And that was the end of it. So really, but then after that I sort of pulled my head in and raced really well and did make sure there was no misdemeanors or anything like that, and the crowd got back on side, and a lot of people said funny things here and there about it, so it was more a humour, a bit of humour after, well, from then on, like even today, people get a bit of a giggle out of it, I mean, there was nothing bad about it, as in, it was a bad thing to do, but there was no, it didn't hurt, it wasn't I'm trying to say, it didn't hurt anybody physically or anything like that, which was, a lot worse than it could have been if it done something like that. I mean, if I pushed Con off the dais, it would have probably been worse. Which I wouldn't have done anyway. But, So anyway, at the end of it, it was what it was, and I just had to deal with it.
So you won 3 WA championships, back to back in the early 80s.
Yep.
And you won your third in 98, 99. That's a big gap. As we discussed earlier, you came runner-up 5 times, which I didn't believe when I read it last night. I was just checking up on a few stats. That's a long time between titles, but that must have been very pleasurable to you to win that 3rd title, in your son's car, and really finish up. And then you retired at the end of Claremont.
Yes.
So it was a good way to finish your career off.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, so that we won that one when we won the national title, the first one, and then did we or not? Are we back to we won it in. Yeah, we had to back it up in Bunbury.
Yeah, you won it the year before the nationals, and then you won the nationals and the state.
Yeah, that's right. We won the first one in Bunbury, and then backed it up in Perth.
Yeah,
at Claremont.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then after that, they went a bit dry. So run second, as you say, 5 times. It's a lot of times second, but we're trying. Back in the times, and probably not sort of picking on anything, but they done this draw. You might be high points. You pick a marble and you come out of. It was a Coke can at the time there because I was sponsored by Coca-Cola. Yeah. You had to pick a Coke can out of the machine and it'll have a number on it, and that was a 6. So you'd always draw 6, of course. So I used to make a contest, put number 6 on every can in there.
He probably did it.
He'd get a giggle out of this.
Yeah.
And so you come out of 6 every time, and that probably cost me a couple of those races. But anyway, it is history's history, and we didn't win them, and that's what it is. So, but to race against all the people we did over those years in those titles as well.
Some pretty good names.
Good competitors. Nothing come for nothing back in those days.
Yeah. Absolutely.
You certainly had to have your. As my brother John said, you had to have the spanners had to be shiny.
We're going to take a quick break and then come back, run a couple of more questions and wrap it up here on Slightly Sideways. And thanks for watching, and we're with the legend Ron Krikke.
For round number 2, here tonight at Claremont, the first one at Cal, big race start, Gary Brazier. Trying to get from the back, but it's G Rush out in front. It's copybook style. George Tattle, in fact, has got by Gary Brazier. He seems to have a problem. It's Rush off turn number 4 for the first time. Brooke Tattle, Ron Krikke, a good start. Followed by car 37, David Anderson. And then the 21, Cara Brazier, who's back on the show again. Back straight, turn 3, Gary Rush pours it into the turn. Up on the cushion, looks to the drive, Krikke in trouble.
Oh, was he in trouble? And what a good bit of driving from David Anderson.
And Ron Krikke has put himself out the event to save himself, hitting Tony Loxley, the photographer.
Well, we're sitting here with one of the legends of Speedway in Australia, Ron Krikke, 2 times Australian champion, and we're just continuing on our talk quickly. Pedro, would you like to take this on?
I'd like to ask Ron, who was your most admired competitor over your long career?
Wow. there's plenty of them. You know, you like to say family, then friends. You know, I'd say there's a few of them, to be honest. John and I raced a lot together, which was good, you know. And then my son Daryl, Shane, my nephew, and then Max and Gary.
Yeah.
Max Dumsey, Gary Rush. Who else? Noel Bradford.
Yeah.
You know, all those names. That,
Yeah.
You know, I can't singly pick one out because there's so many different instances and races, you know, that we had, you know, and many times in different places. So yeah, look, down a few of them.
Did you have anyone that you sort of wanted to race like? They had a style that you thought, I want to be, or you just, Ron Krikke, this is the way I do it?
Pretty much, yeah. Look, I wanted to race one, and Jeff Murphy actually said something to me that was quite interesting. He says that I raced the car a lot different to a lot of other guys. And he said it's a very unique thing that you've got. He said there's only a few guys. He said he named a couple of American fellas, like Ron Sherman and a couple of other guys. He said you're very similar to the way they race. And I said, oh wow, which I never knew. I mean, I didn't know. I just jumped in the car and started racing it, and then it was just what I learned is what I learned. And I figured out a few things myself, because I smoked back then, so I thought if I give it a smoke, it's going to only help. You know, with lung capacity. I had a driving machine which I set up for neck strength and shoulder strength, which was very, very good, and concentrated on where I was on the racetrack, and you know, to look after the car and to finish the races was the main thing. So don't put the car in bad areas, which I mean that doesn't happen all the time. You get caught up in
sometimes you can't. Yeah,
you know, you're the primary cause yourself. You know, but generally, no, it all come to me just as I never spoke to many people about it.
Yeah.
Fano gave me a bit of a hand, John Fenton.
Yeah.
But generally, it just jumped in the car and just went and raced it.
He's not a bad guy to get advice from.
Yeah, some random superstar.
Some random.
Yeah, what a legend. Now, Ronnie, psychologically, in a race car, you're sitting there, maybe in the pit area. Are you the type of person that tries to predict things in your mind about how you're going to play in the race, say a feature race, or are you the quiet type that just sits there and wants no noise and just relax before you actually get pushed?
You got to laugh at this. No, I used to have different scenarios. Probably the previous night.
Okay.
Right, I used to think, okay, look, you know, get there, we've got to high points and we've got to go this, or if we start on the front row or back a bit, you just so many different scenarios. But before, especially Bunbury and Perth mainly, but that's where we race most of the time. When we were sitting in the grid before we go out, I'd fall asleep. On many occasions.
Yeah, right. Just that relaxed.
Just sit there.
That's amazing.
Just fall asleep.
Yeah.
Many times, the boys just give me right, away we go.
How chilled is that?
Yeah.
Just used to sit there and just tug on the belts a bit. It was nice and comfy.
Because you're strapped in for a while. Sometimes, you know, the speed cars will be out there and they're lap after lap and crashes, and
we had to be
there for half
ready
an
the
hour.
race prior. Yeah, you might be there for 30 minutes.
Strapped in, helmet on, and you just sit there. So that's a good way of doing it, mate. You can go to sleep.
But it wasn't. I wasn't trying to do it.
No, it just happened.
Just happened.
It obviously worked.
Well,
It's just funny. We were in marriage and because we had a pretty big night the Friday night in Bunbury on the beer. And the boys, we had a race in marriage and we were up there, and we run around wheel packing, and because I was sitting there getting drowsy, I'm thinking, oh come on. In the end, I just run onto the infield, just knocked out a gear. Anyway, so by then I sort of woke myself back up. And Jeff says, what's happened? Because he got run out, and the boys, mechanics, all the crew come run out.
Time for a snooze.
I said, mate, I was falling asleep. He wasn't happy about it, but anyway, look, I was not one to sit there and do the scenarios before the race, so knew what sort of basically you had to do anyway, you know. So yeah.
I've got one last question, Jason.
Okay.
Racing or promoting?
Oh. Put spectating with that. Spectating. Number 3.
Yeah.
Look, it's been a major part of my life in all 3. So spectating for many, many years, then to compete for many years, and then promote for many years. All different. Spectating is great because, like last night, there was my brother Jerry, my brother John and myself standing there with a few other guys. Old Mick Monty was there having a beer, and then when Kerry won, we all high-fived each other. It was great, That was pretty good because Peter and Julie were obviously down the pits and that sort of thing, and went out in the infield with the presentation. So Peter wasn't there, but that was pretty cool. So promoting comes with this thing too. That can give you do a really good job and have a great night and have the racing really well, and the crowd happy and all that. That's like winning a feature race, I suppose.
That's cool.
So spectating's got its own thing. Competing is the same thing. It can be really, really great too, or really hurt you. So the highs and lows in both being, a promoter or a competitor it's very way different. You can be up and down there the next. Yeah. Because if you have a bad track, then everyone is into you about a track. But the winner love the track, so it's I don't know this. I think all three are so different, so vastly different that when you're a promoter, you're no one's friend.
Yes.
Not because you've got to divorce yourself away from your mates, your mates in the pits and that. Yeah. Because then everyone reckons you're looking after them and all that sort of thing.
Tough
so
job.
It's got to be straight up. It's got to be that way. So yeah.
Well, Ron's got a very busy schedule. We're at the Australian Sprint Car Title weekend, so he's got to be here, there and everywhere, so we really appreciate your time. Thanks, Pedro, for joining me again for Slightly Sideways in this episode. I'm sure that we will definitely get down to Bunbury and have a beer with Buffer and probably do another episode or something like that a little bit later on and get a bit more, because how could you stop after half an hour and 40 minutes? It's unbelievable how much stuff you can get out of this man. So really appreciate all the viewers. We appreciate being here at the Claremont Museum. If you can get down here, please do, because it's a fantastic little display, and bigger and better things probably be coming later on, hopefully, that we spark the interest back in the passion in Claremont Speedway. And thanks again, Ron, for joining us.
Thanks, guys. I really appreciate it, and thanks everyone. Have a great time.
Yep.